Good morning. My name's Gary Darnielle. I'm the Springfield hearings official. For the record, it's 9 a.m. on April 30th, 2025. I'd like to reopen the record in planning file 811-25-044 TYPE3, type 3. Apologies for missing a hearing yesterday. First time in 42 years. So I guess it had to happen sometime. I apologize that it happened to you. In regard to this hearing, Jackie Rookford, is that correct? Is the applicant in this matter and is representing the Willamalane Park and Recreation District. Before we begin the public testimony, I'd like to address some of the procedures that we follow in these hearings. The approval criteria can be found in SDC 5.22.115. In summary, these are consistency with the Metro Plan policies and diagram, consistency with applicable refinement plans, plan district maps, conceptual development plans, and functional plans, and whether the property is presently provided with adequate public services and facilities, transportation networks to support the use, or that these facilities are planned to be provided concurrently with the development of the property. Not relevant, I understand, is the approval criteria when a legislative zoning map and requires amendments to the Metro Plan diagram. Also, consistency with OAR 660-012-0060, if that is applicable. Testimony should be directed towards these criteria or other criteria that you believe are applicable. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements and evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and other parties the ability to respond will preclude your ability to raise these issues subsequently on appeal to the Oregon Board of Appeals. By statute, you have the right to request that the record be held open an additional 7 days. If that occurs, that may be held open even further if there are other parties that need to review comments placed into the record and respond. Ultimately, the applicant, of course, gets the final word in terms of summary. You also have the right to request continuance of the hearing. That's discretionary with the hearings official, so you need to give reasons why merely holding the record open for a certain period of time is inadequate to address your concerns. Let me take this opportunity to indicate that I've had no ex parte contacts or have any actual or potential conflicts of interest to declare. At this time, members of the audience may challenge my impartiality, and you retain that ability throughout the proceedings. Hearing no challenges, this hearing is electronically recorded, so please use the microphone in front of me. And as a preference to your testimony, please identify yourself and who you're representing. In terms of the order of the testimony, we'll begin with a staff presentation, and I believe Mr. Andrew Limbert will be summarizing the staff report for us this morning. I don't know if he'll be joined by the Assistant County City Council. Following the presentation of the staff report, I'd like to hear from the applicant's representatives, and then others in the audience who wished to support the application. Following all of that testimony, I'd like to hear from individuals who would rather not be identified as being in favor of or against the application, but have questions or would like to make a statement. And then finally, testimony from those who are in opposition to the application. At the conclusion of that testimony, I'll turn to staff and ask whether they wish to respond to any of the comments that have been raised. And after that, there'll be an opportunity for final summary rebuttal by the applicant. Once the record closes, and it may close at the end of this hearing if there's no request to keep the record open or the hearing is not again continued, I'll begin my deliberations. Within 10 days, I'll issue a written decision based on findings of fact, conclusions of law. My decision can be appealed to the Oregon Land Use Board of Appeals. You need to perfect your appeal within 21 days of its mailing to the parties. Are there any questions regarding our procedures? If not, I'd like to ask for the staff presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Darnielle. I just wanted to first enter into the record an applicant's response to testimony that was included with the staff report. There was testimony provided by Knife River. It was, I would categorize it as neutral testimony. It was informative that the existing Knife River quarry, which was misidentified in location, it is east of the subject property. It continues to maintain quarry operations, and there may be activities on the site that generate noise, dust, emissions, and so they were advising Willamalane that some of the activities that will continue on the quarry site may interrupt or be affect the, I guess, solitude or nature or quietude of the subject property. The applicant has submitted a response, and I'd like to enter that into the record. And so I've provided you with a hard copy. It explains that in the purchase agreement from Willamalane, there is an existing covenant that requires Knife River to provide advance notice of blasting operations, and it does acknowledge on Willamalane's behalf that there are existing and ongoing quarrying activities, and so they acknowledge that exists and continues to exist on the adjacent property. So I'll leave that for you to review.
That's the April 28th submission.
That's correct. So I'm just going to bring up just kind of a quick overview for your behalf with a couple of PowerPoint slides just to orient to the particular site. This property is in the extreme southwest corner of Springfield. It adjoins the Doris Ranch Park along the western boundary and the Knife River Quarry along the eastern boundary, and it actually has a small amount of frontage on the Middle Fork Willamette River. So the property is outlined in yellow. This property is referred to as the Allen property based on historic ownership. It's roughly 32 acres, and it formerly contained 2 dwellings, I believe, which have since been demolished. There is an existing gravel driveway that extends south from Doris Street through Doris Ranch Park to this site. The driveway is gated currently, I believe. The only remaining structure on the site is an old garage. Willamalane has indicated an intent to retain that for operations on the site. They have also stated an intent to possibly develop other recreational facilities and amenities on the site pending its conversion to a public land and open space zoning, should that occur. Under the current quarry and mining operation zoning, there's very limited opportunity for non-quarry, non-resource extraction-oriented uses on the site. And that is one of the reasons, the primary reason for the request for the rezoning. Just wanted to also point out too, the Willamette Greenway affects what I'd call kind of the southern peninsular extension of the property. There was a Willamette Greenway permit obtained when the Middle Fork pathway was constructed. I think it was probably about 12, 13 years ago. And so that is, I guess, of note. Willamalane has since acquired much of the property for that leg of the Middle Fork pathway. So this property, the intention through the Willamalane Comprehensive Plan is to amalgamate this site with the adjacent Doris Ranch Park. I guess from a visual perspective, it's not fenced off. It's not barred to casual public visitation. So it is fairly seamlessly integrated currently with Doris Ranch. So there's no defined boundaries or fencing or anything that would clearly define this property and differentiate it from existing Doris Ranch Park.
What about the boundary with Knife River?
To my knowledge, there is no fencing or anything in that location either. Willamalane may be able to elucidate. I have not traversed the property boundaries, but I believe that there's a buffer area there that exists between the active Knife River operations and this property, as can be, I guess, somewhat evidenced in this air photo where there's still remaining trees and vegetation between the active quarrying operations. So currently, the site is zone quarry and mining operations. To the east and west, there are public land and open space zoning areas. The westerly area associated primarily with Doris Ranch. The easterly areas partially associated with the Middle Fork Willamette River pathway, but mostly sub-well fields. Springfield Utility Board's water operations are located in that area. There's the water filtration plant, there's a number of wellheads, and so that public land and open space zoning is actually for utilities, not for park space. The proposal from the applicant is to rezone to public land and open space consistent with the Doris Ranch zoning, and to essentially expand the Doris Ranch footprint to include this property that was acquired by Willamalane. One thing I guess I would point out, and this is my oversight, in the staff report, staff still refer to the Metro Plan. It's now the Springfield Comprehensive Plan and Comprehensive Plan map. Apologies for that. The applicant has responded correctly to the current criteria, which delineate or specify Springfield Comprehensive Plan policies and Comprehensive Plan map. Staff also replied to that, but did include some references to the Metro Plan, which are, I guess, somewhat obsolete. However, there's still some tie-in to the Metro Plan as far as its overall policies and utilization of open space and that sort of thing. So that historic context is still applicable. However, I just did want to point that out, that both staff and the applicant have intentionally responded to the current criteria. It was not in the staff report listed. It still says Metro Plan, so apologies for that. Other than that, I know the applicant has more detailed information to provide about this particular request. I'd be happy to answer any questions. Aside from the Knife River response, which is in the record, there weren't any phone calls or other written testimonies submitted into the record in response to the mailouts and site postings and newspaper and website notifications for this public hearing.
Thank you.
Yeah, probably get the applicant.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to hear from the applicant's representatives.
Good morning. I'm Christina Bowe. I'm Senior Planner at Willamalane Park and Recreation District. I'm joined today by Colin MacArthur, the Principal Planner at Cameron McCarthy Landscape Architecture and Planning, and he's also our representative on this application.
Christina, how do you spell your last name?
Bowe, B-O-E.
Could have figured that out.
I'm also joined from several other Willamalane staff. We have Eric Adams, the Planning Parks and Facilities Director, Jackie Roquefort, the Planning and Natural Resource Manager, and MK Britton, our Operations Analyst. Willamalane Park and Recreation District, the applicant for this zone map amendment application. We own and operate 1,600 acres of parks and open space in Springfield area. And we are the recreation provider in Springfield. So the applicant today requests to rezone approximately 32.4 acres of property from quarry and mine operations to public land and open space. As Andy discussed, the properties in the southwest corner of Springfield. It's about 1.5 miles south of the downtown area of Springfield. And it's positioned outside of the city limits, but within the urban growth boundary. He covered most of the adjacent property, so I'm going to kind of skim over that. But we acquired the land in 2016 from the Allen family. And the main benefit of acquiring the property was it eliminated the need for private access through Doris Ranch to access. We had a private drive that accessed the property. And so we no longer have private vehicular access going through our park and crossing the Middle Fork Path. And the intention was always to incorporate that into the Doris Ranch Park. In 2016 or 2019, we officially did that with the update to the Doris Ranch Master Plan. And I'll talk more about that in a minute here. The Allen property is still not currently open officially for public use. We haven't built formalized access to it, and there is a gate at the road that accesses the property, and it will remain that way until we have safe access to the site established, and this zone change is one of the first steps in that process. The park itself, Doris Ranch, is 299 acres in size, including the subject property. It's designated as a regional park in the Springfield Development Code. For Willamalane's purposes, we categorize it as a special use park. It includes 100 acres of a filbert orchard that is listed on the National Register of Historic Sites. It also includes walking trails and has a couple structures that are used for rentals and events in the northern entry portion of the park. The 2019 master plan update proposes expanding the trail system at Doris Ranch to access the Allen property. It would include a picnic area and an overlook to kind of take advantage of some of the scenic viewpoints available on that property. And the longer term plans consider a permanent structure on that property to support of additional events and rentals there. However, we haven't completed the feasibility or funding for that longer term plan, and so that portion remains relatively uncertain at this point. I'm going to hand it over to Colin to talk more about our application and criteria.
Thank you, Christina. Again, I'm Colin MacArthur with Cameron McCarthy, Landscape Architecture and Planning. Thank you, hearings official Darnell. I will handle the more technical aspects of the presentation, addressing the approval criteria and findings of compliance. The hearing official accurately presented the approval criteria for the zoning map amendment at SDC 522-100, which is consistency with the Springfield Comprehensive Plan, applicable refinement plans, district maps, conceptual development plans, and functional plans, provision of adequate public facilities, services, and transportation networks, and then final criteria, legislative map amendments mostly does not apply, except for our application does address compliance with the OARs. The first criteria regarding the Springfield Comprehensive Plan, we looked at several elements and provided findings addressing several elements of that plan. The first being the land use element, and found that the subject property is designated sand and gravel by the Springfield Comprehensive Plan. There is evidence of a small rock quarry that was there in the 80s, but there has been no mining activity since that point, or for over 40 years. The property is not currently used for any aggregate extraction and not proposed as one. It's proposed as a continuation of Doris Ranch and a park facility. We did not find any inconsistency between the PLO plan designation and the sand and gravel designation. There's no conflict. There is some discussion about how the PLO designation is appropriate as a buffer for residential buffer between sand and gravel and other residential designations. And then we found that plan designation and land use district alignment is encouraged but not mandated by the Springfield Comprehensive Plan. Regarding the recreation element of the comprehensive plan, Willamalane's 2023 comprehensive plan was adopted as the recreation element of the Springfield Comprehensive Plan. That plan identifies this property for park use. The comp plan identifies one action and two specific projects that will occur on this property. And the proposed zoning map amendment implements those policies by enabling these projects to occur and better achieve protection, conservation, and enhancement of the property. Regarding urbanization, again, the subject property is within the Doris Ranch Park boundary, which is about 299 acres. It is included in a 2019 master plan for Doris Ranch, so it's always been considered part of the park since Willamalane's acquisition, just not zoned the same as the rest of the park. And the request is really a cleanup action to consolidate the zoning under the PLO district designation. Regarding refinement plans, property is not within a refinement plan boundary. It's not within a plan district boundary. It's not within a conceptual development plan boundary. Willamalane's comprehensive plan is considered a functional plan, as well as the recreational element of Willamalane's comprehensive plan. We've addressed that. The property is included in that plan. The proposed action would help implement planned projects in the plan and help support or warrant rezoning. And then we have additional findings in our application talking about consistency with the Springfield Transportation Plan and where applicable, the Public Facilities and Services Plan. Those are the other two plans that we address in the application. Adequate public facilities and services. Can't get this slide to advance. That's okay. We found that Doris Ranch, classified as a regional park, is provided currently with adequate facilities and services. That's documented in the findings. The proposal consolidates the property, but it does not extend any services to the property. And then the future development that Willamalane has described does not really necessitate or demand any new services provided to the site. There is a provision in place to review development under site plan review, if there's any question about provision of services, and then long-term property, if there's no plans to extend services to the property that would warrant an annexation, and the property is not contiguous, so that would require annexation of the rest of the property. That's not proposed. And then finally, the applicant did provide TPR analysis as part of consistency with the OAR. That analysis found that the zoning map amendment proposal does not create a significant effect regarding mitigation or necessitate any further action. So we've covered that part of the OAR compliance. We have reviewed the staff report. We concur with staff's finding and staff's recommendation and support their decision, and urge the hearings official to consider granting the zoning map amendment request. I'd be happy to take any questions, or Christina can join me.
Is there any objection to my taking official notice of the Willamalane master plan? Is it online?
Yes, it's adopted as an element of the comprehensive plan, so no objection.
Thank you. I have no questions at this time.
Thank you.
Are there other in the audience who wish to testify in support of this application? Are there those who would like to make a comment or ask a question, but would rather not be identified as being in favor of or in opposition to the application? Is there anyone who wishes to testify in opposition?
And there was no one online.
Does staff have any final comments? Okay. Any final rebuttal or summary?
No.
Okay, with that, I will close the public hearing. I'd like to commend both staff and the applicant on the materials. They're well organized and very thorough. I intend to have a decision out no later than Monday of next week, making up for yesterday. Thank you all for showing up. And again, I'll have the decision by Monday at the latest. Thank you so much.